Hello and welcome back to the English broadcast of the LPL. We are coming in for our final game of the regular season. It's been a long time coming, but we're heading over to the Beijing Arena. My name is Pauls. This is Clement. It's so weird to be standing right now. I feel like we never get I've got all this room to move around. If I want to slap you, I can. It's great.
You know, I feel like Sona in one of the cinematics. This is the first time you actually get to see my legs.
That's true. Incredible. Clement has legs, ladies and gentlemen. Incredible. I didn't even know that was the fact myself until I saw it on air. But yeah, fantastic. But yeah, we're coming in for this final game. And what do you know? The very final game of the split, of course, going to have standings implications. RNG going up against JD Gaming. And I feel like it just has to be this way, right? Like, it could not be more fitting this is the case.
It has to be fate. The very last game and the only two undecided slots for playoffs, number 2 and number 3 out of the Eastern Conference, is going to come down to this last series between RNG and JD Gaming.
Yeah, and of course, we need to talk about the fact that historically, you'd be like, oh, RNG coming off the back of Asian Games, basically going to be world champions. They're the king of the world right now. Uzi, it's the year of the dog. And what happened in this matchup, Clement? What happened with the history between these two in the summer split? Tell me.
Well, JD Gaming has actually been the only team to be undefeated versus RNG in BO3s. All 3 times that they faced them, they came out victorious. Now, half of the RNG squad just won the Asian Games. They took the gold medalist, but the full RNG squad cannot beat JD Gaming. So this is a massive matchup for the two of them, just to change the narrative and to give RNG fans some hope moving forward into the playoffs.
So honestly, it just raises the question, is JD Gaming the best team in the world? You know, is that something we can solve here today, Clement? Because it seems like historically, I mean, we've moved from like, all right, guys, it's a best of 3. Now it's a best of 5, best of 7. You know, like, at what point do we start drawing the line? It's like, this team is just unanimously the best.
I totally understand your talking point right there, but I have to say, I feel like it's just JD Gaming being a strong counter towards Royal Never Give Up. Their playstyle just seems to always have the number toward RNG.
Yeah, and now you're probably being like, counterpoint, here's Roman, who is once again shirtless, but this time he is on our stage. Now, I don't know how he made it over here, but some say that he swam over here, actually, overnight, just to be here today. But, of course, he's ready to go to war. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, always great to see Roman. I just don't know what he's doing in the RNG stadium, but fantastic to have you. He really does. Yeah, that was all body paint as well. I saw him setting up on Twitter earlier.
Yeah, definitely. So he's probably trying to steal Uzi over to EU, you know, try to get some EU pride, euphoria going on, but now I don't think he's leaving that easily. Yes.
Of course, used to be on Unicorns of Love. I was over there at the same time as him, actually, over in Europe, and now I believe he's over in North America, and now he's off in China. So, yeah, when are we going to see you in body paint, Clement? Soon? Soon?
It's going to take
We'll call that one soon. So work in progress, folks. But yeah, let's get back onto this matchup because we're talking about the fact that JD had this winning record, and it's like, well, why? Why is JD right now apparently just, why do they have RNG's number? I think we have to take a look from the big picture first, and then we'll start narrowing in. But really, it just seems like they just read them like a book every single time we see them go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, the biggest thing through all of their series, and they've played 8 games against each other so far, is that JD Gaming always comes out ahead in the mid-game team fights. They always commit harder, and they commit faster. All of their members are there, and there's been so many times where RNG tries to make a pick and then realizes the entire team of JD Gaming is right in the bush, right around the corner, waiting to ambush them. And it's been that type of a hurdle where RNG, a lot of times, they actually do like to play slow with their compositions. They like the Kaisa picks, they're like their hyperscalers, but they also like to play very aggressive early on, and that really does lead to trouble with JD Gaming, who are just full speed all the time.
And it honestly feels when you watch those games, it's like JD has done their homework against RNG. It's just like they know where to wait at the right times. In my mind's eye, I'm just like, I have JD just sitting in a bush near red buff and it's like, well, here's 3 members of RNG coming to the slaughter. And it just happens over and over and over again. So in a macro sense, they seem to have them. In team fights even, it seems they have them as well.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at JD Gaming's composition, they're much more about early aggression and early just type of initiation style compositions. So mid-game is really their domain, and that's what I want to see from RNG today, is don't all-in yourself, don't force yourself to have to sit back and wait for late game, because that is not a winning strategy against JD Gaming.
Yeah, and then you narrow it down specifically to the solo laners, and you're probably going to be like, Pauls and Clement talking about top lane again every single time I see this. But really, in this matchup, I think it really is about that top lane. You look towards Letme and Sasaik had great success in the top lane internationally, but this is domestic. This is the LPL. Who are you up against? One of the strongest top laners in the laning phase in the entire league.
And this is such a big challenge for Let Me because Zoom is his second worst enemy domestically. He's never won a game against the Shy, and he's 1-4 against Zoom. So a very bad record over here. This is going to be a turning point if he can win this series to prove that he can go up against more lane-dominant top laners.
Yeah, not that he's just good internationally, but he also has what it takes to be one of the best domestically in the league as well. And you're probably like, Zoom? I haven't heard of Zoom. I don't know about the top 4 teams in the LPL. Well, you should know about Zoom, because this guy dumpsters people in the laning phase. We were talking about the Shy, took his number. Now he's coming for Let Me as well, Clement.
Yeah, and if you look at the matchups between these two, Zoom has always had the much better laning phase. That gold lead over there, 336 gold at 15 minutes over 5 games. So very consistently winning out in his lanes. And we've seen that Let Me recently in the Asian games, in his recent performances, RNG has been giving the last pick to him. They are telling him to go carry. We've seen Akali games, Kennen games. I want to see if he can actually do it against Zoom, who's also a very big carry player. He plays a lot of Aatrox, he plays a lot of Jace, is also famous for his Swain. So both of these, if they are going to change their style, could have a lot of Flark spine.
Yeah, that's the key thing to me, the fact that we've really seen a lot of tanks just from Let Me. I mean, he made his name just being the tank player in top lane. It's just like, all right, ignore top guys, you know, like Let Me's going to be on the tank. He's going to be either even or behind. That's Let Me. But now he's only like even or ahead. But he's got to go against the monster like Zoom. Zoom does it all. He plays tanks, he plays carries. But when he's playing those carries, he will destroy you 1 versus 1. This is a game with him against the Shy, who is previously known as the straight up best top player in the league.
And this time, this split around, the solo kill king has actually changed hands. Zoom has the #1 amount of solo kills in the top lane. And you can see over here, Let Me has also been going more towards those carry performances. This is his own version of the Swain pick. And of course, against BLG, he had this fabulous play where he 1v2'd into the top lane, still being able to play on those tanks as well.
And then Let Me, I mean, historically, as we just said, has been the tank play. You see him right here playing into Amazing J. It doesn't mean he's not going to get kills. Multiple outplays on Shen, on Ornn, on all these massive beefy top laners. Let Me has shown that he has been one of the strongest top lanes in the league in terms of consistency. I wouldn't look at Let Me and be like, this guy peaks all the time, but he will be joined alongside Karsa, Xiaohu in the mid lane, with Uzi down in the bottom lane alongside me.
And this is really the full roster of RNG. They're full force coming out, and everyone has been waiting to see this since Asian games.
Yeah. But it's not been that long since Asian Games. It's literally been a couple days, Clement. I mean, we were there. We were literally there like
but that
3
was
days
only
ago.
half of RNG. Now you get
That's
the full
fair.
thing, like the full itinerary.
Yeah. Can the entirety of RNG take down JD Gaming? Because that's who they're up against today. Zoom in the top lane, Clid in the jungle, Yagao in the mid lane, with Loken and Lumao down in the bottom side.
Still sticking to the same 5 players, and for JD Gaming, their top side has been absolutely popping off this split. The Dumpling brothers between Yagao and Zoom are absolutely terrifying. They're great soul laners, and across the board, they have such a consistent play style. Sacrifice CS, roam in group earlier.
I mean, it's just so fascinating to me that JD stand right here competing with RNG. Literally, their spot in the playoffs will come down to this best of 3, the very final series of the entire regular season here in the summer split. And it's JD. I know there's still going to be a lot of people who only really follow RNG, EDG, maybe Rogue Warriors as well after Rift Rivals, but this is a name, JD, that you really need to get behind. Start learning these players, start learning this team, because you're going to see a lot more of these guys on the international stage.
100%. The way things are shaping up right now in the LPL, JD Gaming has a very strong chance of actually taking over the 4th spot from EDG. Next year, I actually feel like the names you have to remember are going to change quite a bit.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, typically you look towards the top 3, the top 4, and right now I feel like JD are just solidly maybe in 5th right there, but the fact that I feel like 5th to 3rd is so in flux, right?
Yeah.
Look towards the latter half of the season, specifically after cross-conference, and it's just like, well, EDG slumping, RNG slumping. JD look exactly the same. They just keep on ramping. So coming here into this final game, we'll see if they can actually make it the straight best of 5 win over the entire split itself as we get right here. RNG going to be on the blue side. To open us up will be a Jace and Alistair ban coming through. Jingdong going to be banning away the Varus and the Trundle for their first rotation.
And there's a lot of fun things happening already. You can see RNG taking away Zoom's Jace, knowing that that top lane matchup has been one of their weaker spots on their roster for a long time. Also doing away with the Aatrox on the blue side themselves. This is showing so much respect towards the top lane matchup.
Yeah, gotta get rid of that Aatrox. Now, we just saw a game that Raz and Rusty were casting, and both Aatrox and the Akali managed to get through. Not going to be the case this time around, though the Akali is open if RNG wants a first picker right here. Zaya was the final ban from JD. But we did see a couple of Akali games come out of Let Me, specifically in the group stage in Asian games. So we'll see if he wants to pick it right here. Zhao Hu also going to be his mid laner, so there's definitely a very good chance it goes to the mid lane as well here for RNG.
Yeah, I think RNG is very much sold on the flex pick. They will lock it down, but however, I don't think Lemmy had the best Akali performance at Asian games. Had a very hard time against tanks. And for me, I think Akali is still much better as a mid laner. This should work for Yagao. I do believe he will have the counter picks. He's a very good Yasuo player. He's a very good Galio player.
Yeah, you would expect that to be the case. JD on their side locked down the Tam Kench and look towards Sentinel Gragas pick right here. Probably just trying to lock down the junglers early, though. Cleared it very versatile in the jungle, who will be fine with the Gragas. And if he really wants to bring out a pocket pick of the Lee Sin, he can do that as well. But it will be the Gragas here in this first game.
Gragas is considered as a semi-counter toward the Akali. You can take her out of the Twilight Shroud with your Cask Ultimate. And I just want to talk about the bans for JD Gaming a little bit. They are taking away those safe AD carry options coming out from Uzi. Uzi is much easier to deal with if he's on something like the Ezreal or the Kai'Sa that needs to scale up.
Yeah, and Kai'Sa is exactly what it's going to be. To be honest, we see a lot of early rotation Kai'Sas come out of Uzi, maybe more than I would like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Uzi is still able to perform on the champion. It's just what JD will start to build around it, because that's what we saw at Asian games. In fact, what we saw in the domestic league as well is that teams will see the Kai'Sa and be like, all right, fantastic, let's build a composition around destroying the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the worries we talked about in pre-game is if RNG tries to play too slow, and that's their problems going up against JD Gaming. They can't hold the front line when they're in the mid-game. So this Kai'Sa has to start rolling in the laning phase, get herself that first item before she really goes into those fights. So this is a really smart banning strategy from JD Gaming. I think they have RNG where they want it.
Now we go back over to JD. Rakan was actually just picked up there by RNG. It's going to be the Ashe right here for that initiation, the roam potential. I mean, Ashe and Tam Kench, we've seen it all around the world at this point, very much ingrained in the meta. But I do expect to see probably a Camille ban coming out of RNG, because you're looking at someone like Zoom. We highlighted in the top lane. We know he plays the champion. You've just picked up Kai'Sa. It's just like, you've got to start taking these tools off the board. We'll see what JD starts off with.
For me, I actually think RNG should take a Galio ban right here, because Galio is a good answer towards the Akali, and this is shaping up to be a global composition like we saw in Asian games, like the LCK region did run. The Ashe, Tahm Kench can go anywhere on the map. They're very free to make plays, and Gragas is so punishing if you have map control. So this is already setting up as a very strong snowballing comp from JD Gaming. Galio would only diffuse a lot of the comebacks that RNG could throw their way.
Diffuses it and can also be used as aggressive tool. The reason I mentioned Camille is because you think of that classic combo, the Camille, the Galio, immediately just pinpoint guided missile system, jump on top of the big carries. So we'd like to see at least a ban on one of those. Olaf and the Lulu coming out as bans here from JD. Was Gangplank ban actually towards Zoom. We just saw, we highlighted some of the clips actually coming out from Zoom himself on that champion. And then what's it going to be? Because I agree with you right here, Galio is a big priority. It must be, but it's going to be the Kindred actually to lock down, presumably cleared, though the Gragas has already been locked in, so they're expecting the Gragas to be a potential flex coming in from JD.
It's pretty interesting in the draft to take away Kindred. It's actually very hard to lock down Klid's champion pool. Plays 12 jungle champions, and they do play the flex between the top lane and the jungle in Gragas as well. However, it does look like the way RNG is reading this matchup is that they want minimal influence in terms of the jungle and mid matchup, because the way JD Gaming really starts their snowball has always been through jungle and mid. So if you look at their bans taking away from Kindred, that's probably what they're signaling. They want Xiao to have a better early game so he can cover while Uzi steps up.
It's interesting we just had a Zoe pickup right here. So it's actually Yagao looking for, I mean, straight up his signature champion. If you don't know much about Yagao, Zoe is the pick that he came in on, and it's just like, wow, this guy is actually the real deal. So glad to see him on this champion, but he will likely be focusing down the Akali, given that we've also had a Camille lock-in. Of course, Black can go into the jungle, can go into the top lane. We've got a lot of flex picks coming in for RNG, but we'll see where it actually gets put in the end. There will be an Orianna pickup, so that definitely changes things.
Yep. So we're probably going to see an Akali into the top lane.
Yeah, for Let Me.
And then we're going to have the Orianna in the mid lane. However, this is not considered a particularly good matchup for the Orianna. She doesn't have the mobility, and you know, sometimes you just can't evade the Sleepy Trouble bubble. So it's a bit of a difficult matchup to play.
Wow.
And you can see her already going for the cleanse. Now, this puts RNG in a bit of a weird position. First of all, I don't think they can utilize Camille's early level 2 strength that well. There's not a lot of lanes that can do well with that. And second of all, if you look at their 2 carries, they're actually quite slow in terms of scaling up, which basically drops them into the trap that we were talking about in pregame, is that they had trouble in the mid game versus JD Gaming.
So it will be an on to round us up here for Zoom going into that top side into the Akali. I mean, pretty much if you build for a tank or a bruiser into the Akali, does pretty well in the early game. Akali, pretty similar to Aurelia and a lot of her weaknesses in at least the first 6 levels. Of course, if Akali can get out, start getting kills, get involved in those skirmishes, then it becomes an issue. But the fact that they allowed themselves to just have a tank go right into the Akali matchup, it feels like JD got the better ends on a lot of these lanes.
Yeah, JD Gaming definitely got what they wanted. They got the stronger mid laner, which is their center of action, basically, and they also have great engage options. The global coming out from Tom Kench, from Ashe, and from Ornn, which gives them a lot of initiation and priority in deciding the fight. So those are all the elements that JD Gaming really want, but I felt like RNG actually took a step backwards. They were going to play more patient, they want to play later, and they do have a little bit more side lane control with the Akali if she goes late.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what you generally expect when it's just like, oh, here's a Kai'Sa second pick from Uzi, as per usual, coming into the draft. But again, we're actually seeing more of Let Me on the Akali. And for me, I just didn't know whether this Akali pick for Let Me was something that he just wants to bring out in low-stake games. We saw it a lot in the group stage, specifically in Asian games. We saw it towards the latter half, heading up into Asian games itself out of Let Me, but not really in the high-pressure games. And this right here, final game of the regular season, means a lot for these teams. It's the difference between being on different sides of the bracket and different parts of the gauntlet itself.
We cannot understate how important this matchup is, because second and third basically means the difference between going up against EDG and Invictus Gaming or going up against potentially
Rogue
Warriors, which is most people would consider the much easier side of the bracket. And we also have TOP and Suning on that side as well. So there's definitely a lot at stake, and it seems like fate, JD and RNG always coming together at the last second to decide things.
And there you go, you can see Roman as well at the very front of the stage, waving the flag in full body paint, the war paint, if you will, coming in to this final game of the regular season between RNG and JD Gaming.
Our team name is RNG, and our goal is the championship. The Beijing chant we hear once again, but people have to remember, JD Gaming is also moving to Beijing in 2019. So this is not only the battle for the second, but the battle for the hearts and mind of Beijing.
And it's probably one of the only times I've heard this entire split with the JD managers being a little bit drowned out by the other side. But, I mean, these guys are Asian game champions right here, coming in with the gold medals, 3 gold medalists coming onto the Rift right now. So you've got to be pretty happy with how this has gone for them.
They did it for country. So you have to stand
behind
them.
They're war heroes, Clement. They're coming off the back of the Asian games. It's like, bow down before us, give us some respect.
Taking a look at the early rotations, they're going to be starting on opposite sides of the map. And the level 2 Kai'Sa gank, we've seen this so many times, but very smart ward already spotting it out.
Yeah, really important coming out there. I like the fact that he pushed up in the early portion of this game right here. Looked like it was a ward coming out actually from Lumao to spot that one out. And Kai'Sa will just be taking the consolation prize of the grab on the bottom side.
Yep, earlier in the matchup, he should have the dueling potential against Clit. And the Clit should be the one just looking to farm up. I think Gragas is one of those picks that really showed its potential during Asian games when you have players like Ming and Score on the board. His playmaking potential becomes so important to crack open those stalemates.
There we go, the top lane that we're really focusing in on this matchup, Zoom versus Let Me. Going to be going for a Resolve primary. I feel like it's pretty much a must into a lot of these tank matchups. Has gone for the Grasp the Undying to start us off. And of course, Chrysalis and Bone Plating. This is what you go for if you're into like melee, trade-heavy matchups, because otherwise you simply just can't survive.
Yeah, pretty much. Does ditch the electrocute for it. That's what you usually would take in the mid lane. But we've seen how this matchup really works out. Akali, a lot of her damage is actually tied to her ultimate execution. So if you're going up against a high health target, it's very hard to optimize your DPS. And the way this usually goes is that the Akali will try to use her mobility and leave the lane and try to impact the rest of the map. but not necessarily look for kills onto the tank.
Yeah, and that's the curious thing, right, when you have the Akali in the top lane, because a lot harder to access those fights early, because you're in the top lane island. You got to swim to shore first. We're going to have Clear looking for this bot lane gank. 3 versus 2, level 2 on both Ming and Uzi. Flash over the pillar right now, but Ming managed to keep them both alive. Uzi low, but Clear underneath the tower. We'll get first bird right here. Mao walking this one up, but Let Me comes in from the top lane. Clear pushed away from the rest of his team. Gets to slow down onto Ming.
But here comes
rotation
Camille.
coming in from that Camille, as you just mentioned. But Karsa going the wrong direction. Clear, however, dives right in towards her, and Mao is way too far away. Will not be able to save him. Turns it to a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, but I do think JD Gaming does come out ahead of that. They do take down Uzi. They burn the teleport from the top lane, and it's just a 1-for-1, and they get the first blood as well. So overall, I still would say very much advantage into JD Gaming. The best situation for RNG to come back would be actually to have that kill onto Akali.
You can see the starting this one off. Mao tanking the turret, literally waiting as long as possible, waited through in the entire grey health shield as well to take 4 or 5 tower shots, allowing him to get that first kill. Did, fortunately on the wrong side of it, but I feel like he didn't faceplant right into his Camille, might have had a good chance of leaving.
Yeah, if he actually went the other way, at the very least he would have wasted a lot of time off of the rotation. Yeah. But that was so well done from JD Gaming because they actually did the tower dive with duo level 3 versus duo level 2. So that's extra HP, extra armor, extra damage. The timing and the synergy with the jungle was incredible.
That's what you want to see. And again, Clid, one of the best junglers in the league. Before, I feel like he was very much the Lee Sin guy. It's just like, when he picks up Lee Sin, you're going to see things happen. But I feel like Clear is just straight consistent right now. I'm not just talking about, like, middle of the road, like he's consistent. Sometimes you see good things. Like, he's consistently making massive plays for the team.
I've actually voted for Clid as the best jungler of this split. With no holdbacks, basically. He's #1 in terms of getting first bloods. He's #2 in terms of his overall champion pool, 12 champions played, and he's #3 in terms of solo kills. So he's helping his lanes out, and he's actually tracking down the enemy jungler quite often as well. Like, this guy is an all-star player, and he's really been a massive step up compared to Spring.
It's just a massive all-rounder for the team, and that's exactly what you want, you know, someone to be in the jungle alongside a matchup when you have your Gao and Zoom for very, very strong solo laners. Clid actually looking for the small invader right there, pops over the wall. Should be spotted out by Karsa. Yeah, ping just goes down. It has been spotted out by RNG. Look to path back towards the bottom lane, but it's just straight blocking the duo here from moving towards the bottom side. We'll manage to get up this ward as well. First dragon's going to be that mountain.
This play just has so much pressure onto RNG's bottom lane. You could see that they used the minion dematerializer to get a big wave. They had the level advantage, and with Clid coming down against a duo without flash, if Xiaohu or Karsa did not rotate, that was going to be an instant kill. So you can see the JD Gaming strategy right now is that they're using their timings and their minion dematerializers in sync so often, and they're forcing the entirety of RNG to come down. Now, we have to remember, they also have a top lane teleport advantage, and that's a level 6 Ornn. So this play has tremendous potential.
Yeah, Clid sticking around, though. Push down to the bottom side, take a swig, jump over the wall, and immediately finds Ming, jumps away, literally a fraction of HP, brings up the shield. Yeah, just as we panned over, that was 8 HP after a couple seconds of regen. That was probably 2, maybe 3 HP away from a kill.
And I like how controlled Clid actually was. He backed off, didn't chase the kill, and was content just to have the minion wave crash in to deny Uzi a little bit of CS and not overstep and potentially get picked off by Karsa. Now, that's a really rare view in the LPL. If that was MLXG, 100%
he would just keep going. Like, he would dive an inner turret at that point. He'd probably dive a Nexus turret if he means he can probably get a kill. 20% chance, let's go for it. But again, Clid playing at the top of his game, so is JD right now. Currently 1-on-1 in this game. As we keep saying, JD are the kryptonite to RNG, and so far, it looks like we could make it just a straight sweep.
And once more, they do spot out Karsa here. They know he's around the corner. And this game strategy from JD Gaming is just so beautiful. They understood that Uzi was going to go for the Kai'Sa. He always does it. He's done it in Asian games multiple times. So the way they're pressuring this bot lane is beautiful to watch. They get the vision lead, they get the level advantage leads, and with a minion dematerializer versus a non-minion dematerializer, they're able to control when the wave hits the tower.
A lot of people down in the bottom lane arriving for this party, and Mal was just pushing up, trying to get a ward down. Already under attack, takes a lot of damage coming from Karsa. That'll be the kill of the sweep right now as Zoom comes into the bottom lane. What a cast coming in, but an even better shockwave onto Clid and Yagao. Ball over the wall. No one really wants to go swimming, especially not Ming, but he's able to actually just step up, not going to pressure him and force him into that bubble, so it will just be the 1 kill.
Yeah, so I did like the idea from JD Gaming. They were really looking for the fight, but the execution was pretty much off. They missed the Ornn ultimate, and they also missed the initial Sleepy Trouble bubble coming in. So unfortunately, they're unable to trade anything back. But overall, I still think that was a worthwhile play. Just the execution could have been tightened a little bit. Maybe have Liu Mao go into that bush just 2 seconds later.
Yeah, small misstep right there. We can see it once again. Liu Mao stepping into the brush. Literally everybody collapses on top of him.
Yeah, the idea was, I think it was pretty solid. Akali doesn't have the teleport here, but you can see Zoom misses his ultimate, and Sleepy Trouble bubble doesn't land, so they can't get the kill in return. But this is a good demonstration of how JD Gaming like to play their games. They never let the action stop. Their average kills versus RNG is around 23 kills, but with a much shorter average game time. So this series between these two are some of the most action-packed games we'll ever see in the LPL.
Yeah, JD make a lot of setups to make proactive plays, but they also make a lot of setups and just wait. They'll just wait for RNG to walk into them. And more often than not, it works out. You know, I feel like I see this all the time from a team like OMG. Oh, it's fine. No, it's fine. Avert your gaze, don't look at the mini-map, it's fine, cover your eyes, it's all good. But no, I feel like I see a lot of teams like OMG, you know, set up for traps and then they'll wait there for like 90 seconds and just the rest of the team will be farming and they'll just like waste a bunch of time. But every single time I see JD make a setup, someone walks into the trap or then they convert it into something else. It's always for a purpose where they're setting up around.
Yeah, and that's the danger about playing against JD Gaming is that it's very easy to get overrun by this team. Like we said before, the key characteristic of JD Gaming is a lot of their lanes are actually losing in CS, but they're ahead in kills. They're very willing to give up small farm advantages to just group up and get kills over and over again. However, we also have to say JD Gaming, a lot of times, this has been their downfall. When they lose a little bit, they tend to lose a bit more on the back end. They never really know when to stop.
They do like their big gambles, but more often than not, because of the way they set them up, they're typically winning, especially against many of the other members of the league. Makes them very consistent against all the teams who are below them in the standings, but also allows them to take games against people like RNG. I mean, again, they have the winning record by a long shot against RNG. Infinitely better, one might say. Ming getting caught out, arrow over the wall. Instant cleanse coming through, though. That should defuse the gang. Clid has to flash the wall, but Ming looking for the counter right here. 2 versus 3. Finds a massive charm coming through. Xiaohu coming in from the mid lane. Flash after, looking for the shockwave. Lands onto Tam Kench. Clid goes right into the perfect time, but still getting chased down. Karsa misses the sweep, and the rest of the team will back away. Yagao coming in from the mid lane. Shoots out the Super Soaker, but doesn't have much more to offer.
Yep, no action gonna continue right here, and that was actually a very good retreat coming out from JD Gaming. Also, Ming with the fast fingers getting the early cleanse down as well. The entire play fizzles, but if we look at the map and the minion wave, it should give it a small advantage over to JD Gaming. I believe Zoe will get a little bit more farm time. So, no farm.
Should be about 2 waves right here as the minion wave resolves. Also a back if he wants it. So far he's picked up the Sork Boots and also the Quicken Potion. Orianna just got a chance to go back and pick up a bunch of Dark Seals. I know we were just talking about this you know, behind the scenes just before we were going live, and I know the gold efficiency, you crunched the numbers, absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's probably the most broken combination in the game right now. So 1 Corrupting Potion and Time Warp Tonic and 1 Dark Seal actually gives you 1,500 gold worth of HP. That's absolutely disgusting. And with double Dark Seals, remember it's not a unique passive. You can stack those. It goes even higher. So we're seeing Control Mages really make a comeback. They don't really need the early itemization to stay in the lane. This is far more effective than even a Catalyst. So they can just hang on there, continue to shove wave, and not really worry about their own sustain.
And it's all components as well. You know, it's not even like one big purchase. You know, the thing that made Catalyst so good for a long time is because like you pick up 2 crystals, then you complete it. Great. This is arguably even better because every single time you go back, you get something good for yourself. You're chasing down Xiaohu. What a dodge coming out there as they're pushing him from the side. Shockwave is going to go awry, and so will Xiaohu as he actually dies there anyways. But still, the mechanical almost outplay was great to see.
And this is the danger when you pick a Kai'Sa into an Ashe and Tahm Kench. You don't have the lane priority, and they can make map plays whenever they want to.
Ming still pushing in, and Karsa right into the midst of the fray here as Letney comes in from the top lane. They've got the lockdown onto Clid. Should be able to secure this kill, but it's a kill on return. Yagao over the wall gets 1. Loken getting chased out here, but Mao right in front of him playing the bodyguard. Should be good to go.
Massive damage coming out, but they shouldn't be able to push any further. Zoom is coming in to hold down the tower. It's going to be another 3v3.
Yagao coming in from the left. Mao Pushing forwards once again. Double knockup coming in from the Ornhorn. Ming jumps the wall, but Mao, he's got one in his sights. It's going to be Uzi. Managed to get a kill and return now. The minions take him out. I think it's the minions. I mean, who else was there to kill him?
Yeah, that was a really good play from Loken. Tiltillating play, I would call. Basically baiting Uzi to stay in position. And, you know, good calculations by him. He does fall down, but he doesn't give any gold to RNG and their carries.
All right. I mean, absolute chaos erupting in the mid lane right there. 4-4 in kills now. I feel like we're probably going to get a replay in a second, so good luck to you, Clement, to break this one down.
Yeah, that was a pretty insane one. Of course, RNG did start the fight out with a numbers advantage. They took down Xiaohu to really start the fight, and maybe we're not going to get a replay because action is going to continue on the Rift.
Yes, it will. So we can just do a damage report. So 2 kills over to Yagao right there. 2 in total to Karsa. Kill over to Let Me, kill over to Zoom. And RNG actually get access right here into the top side of the map. Will be able to pick themselves up the Herald. Pink go down onto Zoom. Zoom is actually pushing up very, very far. I mean, he's pretty much out of mana. Doesn't have an ultimate. Does have a flash, but I don't think he wants to burn it necessarily. Unless he can get very close to his tower. He will burn it now, but gets caught in the outer ring of that sweep. Turned around, tries to put some damage down, but ultimately wasted flash. Will fall in the end to RNG, and they pick themselves up the Herald.
And this is definitely a successful rotation coming out from RNG. They are trading the bot lane tower, but they get a kill, and most likely the top lane in return. So this is probably like 1.5 versus 1 in terms of objectives right now.
I mean, this is just the easiest Herald of your life. You're just like, where should I put the Herald right now? Maybe the lane without a top laner. So put it down, knock down the turret. Mid lane response coming in from JD was good. I believe he managed to pick that one up first.
I think Lemmy's going to find a kill in the bot lane.
No, it's possible. 1 versus 1. Into Loken. Jumps in with a perfect execution, but it's actually going to be somewhat close. Oh, no. I was going to say it was going to be somewhat close. Maybe not. Mao, very angry. You just killed my marksman. And here comes Clid as well. 2 versus 1. Let Me. The bonk comes down. And so does Let Me. It's going to be a kill right there in return. Shelly looking for the second charge. Zoom should be able to get a range. That being said, Karsa and Uzi are going to defend. Yeah, there'll be another charge coming. 3rd charge coming in from Shelly.
And RNG actually take the gold lead out of all of this. JD Gaming, they got the mid lane tower and the bot lane tower, but Lemmy with the play in the bot lane, he actually denies the local gold away from JD Gaming, so they come out with the trade advantage.
And it's all just opening up in the mid game right now. Mao trying to find access into this mid lane here. We'll find it eventually. In comes Clid, also in from the rafters. And Yagao pushing through the mid lane will be able to deflect the push coming in from RNG, but it's absolute chaos. You know, one team makes a play, the other team immediately goes for a secondary play on the opposite side of the map.
Yeah, that was it was all in JD's court for quite a few plays right there, but I felt like the last play where Zoom died in the top lane for basically nothing really set JD Gaming quite far behind. They were looking at a situation where Zoe was quite fed, she was ahead in kills, Yagao could start poking out people, but now RNG have kind of equalized the carry potential. You can see 2 kills on Let Me already, Uzi also picking up another one.
We can see that again. Yeah, it opens up with Let Me just starting to, wow, that was actually a fantastic arrow coming in from Loken.
It was really good. It stopped the stun coming out from Let Me, so he has to use the execute on an almost full health Loken. But I don't think it actually matters because Akali still has all the damage in the world. And if I was going to critique this play, I would say it was a little bit of greed coming out from JD Gaming. Clid probably should have been bot lane. They could have taken the tower together and then moved to the Mountain Drake, but they got greedy and wanted both at the same time.
Either group up, don't be in the first place. Because I feel like Loken played that as well as you possibly could have done as an AD carry, as a marksman into an Akali. But yeah, we're going to have a 4-man collapse into the bottom side. Not going to get the sneaky Akali, unfortunately. Very slippery as a champion. Mid lane, though, actually seeing a rotation come out here from Ming and Karsa. They're going to be spearheading this one into the jungle. Yagao zoning off the brush right here. It should be a red buff take. Now, what are RNG doing? Because I'm looking at Orianna in top lane pushing in this minion wave. 3-man stack in the mid lane, pushing towards top side.
Just picking up as much of the farm as possible. Now, I don't like the map situation for JD Gaming because it's a little bit too open for their preference. What this composition really wants is that they want to create sieging scenarios where they can focus all of their weapons in a single direction. Now, if they're going up against RNG in an open scenario where Camille can fly in, and then you have Rakan coming onto multiple people, and Akali, the most dangerous one, flying into your backline, it's so hard to actually defend. So with what JD Gaming are likely going to look to do is actually try to fight fights in the jungle. They want the terrain to protect their flanks coming in from Let Me.
Arrow comes through and flies right past Ming. I mean, it almost seemed like an accidental dodge right there because he was walking in direction. I was like, oh, that's an arrow, and then carries on walking parallel alongside it. So not going to be a pick here today, but I still appreciate the setup coming in from JD. Doesn't work, then try again. But we're now 18 minutes into this game. We've had 11 kills. Most of these have happened in the mid game in the last maybe 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I really like how smart RNG actually played that. They knew that JD Gaming was in their own red side jungle, so they said, there's no way we're actually going in.
Yeah.
We're just going to push the mid wave. We know that this terrain is actually more advantageous for us. We like the open plains of the mid lane, if I will, and this is just gives you so many more flanking opportunities, so we're going to stay here and force you to come to us.
Just setting up for the next play. Both Heralds down, Dragons down. Next one's going to be a Mountain. Baron spawning in about a minute from now. So we've got a bit of a respite while the teams can just farm up in their respective lanes. Seeing Xiaohu and Uzi actually just sharing farm in the mid lane. And Ornn retreating from his tower. Definitely a little bit extended right there. Top lane's going to be Yagao moving up there. Doesn't have the teleport though, so we'll have to make the long trek down to the mid lane if something opens up. But he feels relatively safe. I don't think anything's going to open up for the next little bit. That was unfortunate. I'm glad we caught that though. Thank you very much, Observer.
Yep. I think for RNG, they're a bit worried about Tom Kench coming in to reinforce the bot side. So even though they had a 3-man in position over the blue side of JD Gaming, they still decided to call it off. Ornn, of course, not such an easy target to take down for them. But I think RNG overall, they're happy to let this game actually just scale out. Like, we've seen Ashe in the North American playoff go up against an Akali from Bjergsen, and it's just not an ideal matchup. You die so easily in the team fights, and if Akali just gets her damage up, it can happen anytime.
Well, they could scale, but it also could collapse onto the bottom lane. A 4-man collapse, flash out of the way from Zoom. It's going to be a 4-man knock-up coming in here. The rest of the team comes into the bottom lane. Last tower shot's going to finish off Let Me. And Xiaohu chooses to walk through the tower. Through 3 members of JD. He falls as well. 2 kills to JD. Kill credit goes over to Zoom. And now RNG trapped in enemy lines. As Clid pushing him from the top side, closing the noose. Right now, Ming is able to escape, but Uzi and Kasa not going to be so lucky. Kasa opens up to the mouth. Massive killer instinct coming in from Uzi, but he's right in the middle of everyone from JD. Flashes the wall, walking through the tower. Yagao with a shutdown. 4 kills over to JD.
And Zoom has to be the greatest bowling player in the LPL. The 4-man knockup and flashes away from the CC that would have killed him on the spot. Absolutely hero play coming out from Zoom to turn that entire fight around, and this could be Baron.
I mean, as we said, don't sleep on Zoom. He will mess you up. 1 versus 4. That's probably one of the best plays I've seen in the entire split so far. Zoom, the complete shutdown. The rest of the team collapses and then completely split up RNG. This will be converted into a Baron at 21 minutes. And JD take control of the game. Though, Let Me pushing forward. Death time's very low in this game. Ming flashes forwards. He's into the pit right now. Loken focusing down to the Baron. Secure comes in by Ornn. And Mal triple stacks. Gobbles up Let Me. Throws him into the team. He's still on the Shroud. Where is he? Throw all the AoE skill shots at him. And Let Me still walking around. Oh, has to come out at some point. Gonna be slowed down by the Billows. Managed to escape out of there. Ming with a clutch heal. In comes Kasa. Double knocker once again from Zoom. Dashes towards the team. Followed through from the Camille. But he's locked down by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. And JD should be able to make the clean escape.
And JD Gaming, that was actually the 3rd rotation they were fighting RNG players at without going back to their own base. And they managed to get the base safely back with the Baron buff as well. Massive win coming for JD Gaming. Can we just talk about back-to-back Zoom plays? Like, it doesn't matter if your jungler doesn't smite. It's okay. I've got this, bro.
I mean, Zoom has just played immaculately over the last 2.5 minutes. You can just take that clip and be like, this is just Zoom as a player. Right here, managed to just keep the Akali at bay in the 1 versus 1. He's like, all right, guys, I'm going to need some help with this Ornn.
And look at this. RNG was not willing to do it with the 3-man, but they were trying to go for it with the 4-man. And just look at this. Zoom says, 4-man, no problem. I'll knock every single one of you down. Let Me takes the tower, falls down before being able to take down Loken, and Xiao is just left in a spot where he has no escape. JD just closed the noose.
Ruin Tower, bowling ball champion right there. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. Zoom, double knock-up, then managed to find a flash on the shockwave, 4-man knock-up, buys literally all of the time in the world for his team just to waltz down to the bottom lane and clean up the rest of the kills, split up Uzi towards the top side. I mean, honestly, in the latter half of that, we saw a lot of good individual plays from RNG, but it was so messed up from the start because of Zoom.
Yeah, they just couldn't deal with the tower damage anymore. It's been hitting them for such a long time, and the amount of time they've actually spent in the air definitely surpassed the time they were actually hitting on the orange.
Yeah, he definitely got some airtime. Blimey. Well, JD are going to split up across the map. 2 members on top side, just pushing this wave in. We'll be able to claim a lot of this standing gold, honestly. JD already with the 3,000 gold advantage, now moving Zoom to the top lane. You got Mao and Yagao just sitting in the mid lane. We'll be able to push this one as well. Surely should be able to rotate to this wave. In the bottom, you've got Let Me just pushing away, trying to push this minion wave into this outer turret that's still standing. So that'll be something for them, but still, JD is setting up to his middle lane tower now, and they have a Zoe, so it should be a relatively easy setup. Yeah, this is going to go down like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, RNG can't actually defend without Akali being here. You can see Let Me still has the teleport, but knows that he can't really affect this side of the map, decides to go for that tower instead. And that bot lane tower is actually incredibly important for what RNG is trying to do. They're trying to play more a split and collapse type of style, and if you get that bot lane tower down, that means Let Me can take the wave all the way to the second tower and have that much more time to rotate to other places. So that's why they wanted to go all in on the bot lane tower, try to open up the map, get that split push going, but even better response from Zoom.
Right now, JD control the game. Pretty strong Baron power play coming out from them, cracking the inner tower and top lane, inner tower in the mid lane, getting a couple kills off the back of that one as well. And you can see that RNG, not too dissuaded, still going to push out into River, place down a bunch of wards in the top side of River, and still get out onto the map. But there are no objectives, really. I mean, there's not a lot of camps still standing. There's no Dragon, there's no Baron, so we're still just back the calm before the storm once again.
I just love this build from Clid. It's basically the Nukem build right here. We're seeing the runic echoes come out, the double ghost so he can chase people
Twin
down.
Shadows, Sword Boots, Predator.
Yeah, this is a very difficult Gragas to go up against because when you're behind and he can just blow you out of your own cover with that type of damage, it's so easy for JD Gaming to just combo someone to death instantly.
Well, set them to the boss. I don't even have Baron anymore, but they're able to just move here first, getting in a track somehow through the jungle. RNG was setting up top side, but the play was in bottom. JD now actually looking towards the inhibitor tower itself. They've got Yagao once again just laying down this damage.
Right.
If one of these hits, someone's going to get half health. You've also got Ash laying down the volleys. Eventually this mini wave should dissipate. I feel like eventually JD will back away, but he's going to be quite happy just setting up a camp.
This is the interesting question. It's basically RNG's typical response. We're going to give up our own objectives just so Uzi can get farm. Look at Uzi. He's still thinking about going onto that wave once again. He's already stopped his back twice in a row. And the question now is, can he get enough gold to actually go and get his Mercurial Scimitar? I think that's going to be the turning point for this match, where he's really going to be willing to step up, because right now, it's probably still too risky.
That's definitely a good point when we get to team fights, but it seems like we haven't had a fair fight through this entire game. No. Like, it's just been either a setup from RNG that's gone wrong, or JD with a setup and they just ambush RNG before they managed to get their battle lines in place. So Uzi was really had to find like the outplays on the latter half of the fight at a disadvantage. So it will definitely help, don't get me wrong, but you need actually a good setup first.
RNG actually have amazing potential to catch out Loken and instantly kill him. You're talking about Rakan going in with the ball on him, Uzi flying to the back line, of course Let Me just walking up to him, but they haven't been able to find that fight. Basically, their ideal fight has not happened for them. And the problem is that JD Gaming has actually defended their outer turrets for a very long time, so they've avoided needing to step out into these open terrain areas where RNG could find the collapse.
So it's got to be around one of these exposed areas, like a Dragon, like Baron, that's spawning up in 70 seconds from now. But again, the opportunities haven't really presented themselves for RNG, or if they have, then it's just messed up in the moment. And then you're looking towards a pretty good setup, honestly. You send a Rakan in, we send a Camille in with a ball on top of them. Seems great, right? Like, that's the perfect engage, and then follow Uzi on the backside, and he's got so much as a spearhead that he should just be able to just wreck them.
Yeah, it definitely has been the case, but you can see RNG, they're kind of forced by JD Gaming to play in the side lanes a little bit, just making sure, and you can see Karsa babysitting Uzi, make sure he gets all that farm as possible. This is still a very dependent composition on the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I just got a ping in my ear that the WE series ended, and WE actually managed to take the win. A massive plays coming out of Magic and Mystic, so all play to them.
Yeah, I have to feel happy for the first father in the LPL. Oh, I don't know if he's actually the first, but the first one currently playing, the only one currently playing.
The only one in history. No, but no, congratulations to them. I know it's been a rough split for WE over summer, and indeed the whole year, honestly. So it's nice to see them actually finding some success towards the end of the split. But back onto this game, though, RNG versus JD. JD with a pretty sizable lead at this point in time. Next Baron, they were like, will probably be the deciding point of the game. I mean, if the game hasn't already been decided already.
Oh, it definitely hasn't been. RNG's composition, the pick potential is just way too high. You're never going to know until the very last team fight. They could just blow up Loken in a millisecond. So
yep.
It's still going to come down. I think the big question is, how do JD Gaming actually rotate themselves into the river? If you look at the Baron pit right now, RNG actually has this place on lockdown. They have the vision control there, and they will likely continue to use their side lane advantages to push the top side out, maintain that vision over there. It's about JD Gaming and when they can turn toward the pit.
So the Shirelli is now being picked up by Clid. I was really hoping that was going to be a proto belt, but it's going to be Shirelli's extra movement speed for
extra
him.
playmaking potential.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all he's thinking about. It's so easy for him to lock down on a target. He has immense movement speed.
Yeah, the front line is it's good from JD. I feel like we just got to be following Letme and his adventures and see if he can take out Yagao or Loken or one of these key targets. But JD are burning this down to 50% already on the Baron. Ming is pushing up, but again, the Shirelius has been popped here by Clid. Karsa
Really
over the wall. This might actually turn into a 50-50. There is no blast cone, so it will be a one-way triple. The rest of the team has to come in here, but JD actually looking for the fight. They find it Ornhorn onto two, flashes into it. Ming jumps in, finds a triple knockup, but he's instantly going to go down. Shockwave onto one, and Doom going to happily tank this one. Cleared backing away, down for the 3 count, back up. Karsa jumps the wall. Yagao following down to Xiaohu, but here's Uzi, unleashes the Acapian Rain, following down to Yagao. He's back into his base, and Xiaohu low. Doom, he's found him. He's in the sight of the Forge God, but in comes Karsa, chasing down Mao. Loken trying to get shoved to safety. Follows through once again. Killer instinct, but he flashes away, and Loken kiting for days right now. Let me, not going to be enough damage, and the entirety of JD surrounding the Akali.
And that was such a rare misstep coming out from Ming. They actually had a very good position on top of the ramp. They had to force RNG to walk through them, but Ming actually abandons the strong position and goes into the RNG composition, and after he instantly dies, RNG are on the wrong side of the map. There's nowhere for them to go. That was. It's really rare to see Ming make these types of mistakes, but that was definitely a massive mistake.
Massive mistake, and then once again, you just got to say it. A great setup coming in from JD, and specifically, you got to highlight Zoom. Ming, the one-man army right now, places down the ward. At the very least, we're going to get a vision of the Baron going down, but I mean, the smallest of consolation prizes. But Zoom just finding these ultimates every single time. It feels like this guy just doesn't miss a beat. Every single time he lay down an ultimate, it's going to hit 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Someone's flashed into that ultimate. It's like just heat-seeking.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
logic there from JD Gaming was very immaculate. They knew that it was going to be a 50-50 if they continued to go on the Baron, so instead they used the river as a type of funnel to get the maximum amount of targets on the Ornhorn. So their idea was basically to turn all along, make sure that RNG are on one side of their position so they can't get flanked and they can protect Loken. That's what they want out of a 5v5 team fight, and the Baron was the way to get themselves this team fight. Now, if you look at the position right here, even though Uzi is caught a little bit, he actually still could have gone out a little bit. So I understand why Ming wanted to go in. He wanted to protect Uzi and be a sacrifice for him, but unfortunately that put his team in a very bad position where they had to abandon the ramp.
The Siege Engine down into the middle lane. Inhibitor's Tower already dead, and the Inhib soon to follow. Loken, not a care in the world, can just step up with Mal right behind him. And Luma, who has always been there to save the Ashe. I mean, that was the other thing you have to mention on the ladder side of that, is just that you couldn't kill the Ashe. You know, we're talking about the play-making potential of Letme, of Uzi. Uzi wasn't able to find Purchase. You sent him Ming to his death, basically, Lamb to a slaughter. Jumped in, didn't see him for he just instantly died as soon as he got that knockup. And then Loken just couldn't die. I mean, Letme was falling to the ends of the earth, but Mao was there with the constant saves.
It was a little bit unfortunate coming out from the coordination between Uzi and Ming, because Uzi actually could have gotten out of the stun and the cast himself. He could have cleansed and then flashed. And you could see he actually just did that in the nick of time, but unfortunately, Ming still went in anyway. So that was kind of a miscommunication. You know, the one true support always is willing to lay down his life for his AD carry, but sometimes it's not necessary.
Yeah. I just don't know if RNG are maybe in their own heads at this point. constant losses against JD as they go for yet another engage,
man,
opening up
look at
onto
Uzi.
Uzi. He's so low already. He's at least sent back to base right here. Nice shockwave onto 3, but it's really just a disengage at this point as JD are pushing down onto another inhibitor. That's going to fall, and they are looking to line up the kill shot.
Yeah, definitely here. It's still going to be a 5v5 situation, and you can see the entirety of JD's composition bunching around Loken. No
Lenny
ultimates have touched
chased
him.
away. Ming and Jiaohu, they are just so low right now. Double Nexus turrets down, and JD, they're just onto the Nexus. It's almost too easy for them. Game 1 goes to JD Gaming.
Oh, that was a perfect read from JD Gaming. They understood how RNG was going to draft, and they played around the Kaisa Akali composition so well. They knew that they could leave these champions open and set RNG into an own trap, a trap of habit.
And honestly, Clement, you know, when I was rewatching the games that these guys have played before the matchup today, it just looked like more of the same, you know? It's just like JD with the great setups. Every time RNG tried anything in the games and they just diffused it and got even more off the back end. Every time they went for a play, they were rewarded. There were very few times in this game, and in fact, any of the games that JD have played against RNG were they're not rewarded for a play that they set up. It seems like they just, I don't know, it's like they've turned off Fog of War. Like they just know what RNG, and also just inside their brains at the same time.
They definitely are, and just look at that gold graph. It was such smooth sailing from JD Gaming from point 1 to point 10, basically.
Yep.
They understood what their composition was trying to do. They understood how they could rotate, how they could pressure into the bot lane. The early game was extremely well done, and I think the most crucial thing to remember is that Xiaohu never found an ultimate where Rakan went in, and they never found that combo onto Loken. Not a single time in this team fight was there a ball carrier going straight onto Loken. So great team fight decision making from JD Gaming, and one of the best Baron takes, or Baron turns we should say, that we've seen from them.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the setup came in from the start, and that came in from Zoom just making a massive play in the bottom lane, you know? So it's just like, yeah, it didn't go well, but that was off a previous mistake. Then the next setup went badly, and it just compounded on itself, honestly, from the start of the game. And it was just like, that was instigated by RNG as well. You know, this was just a turnaround, and it was a mechanical turnaround. It wasn't even from the macro game, wasn't even from the preparation or setup coming out from it. It was just Zoom in the moment.
Yeah, and Zoom has just been such a massive player. He always performs up to par against Let Me. I've done an interview with him. He just says, I feel like I kind of counter him some way. I don't really know how to describe it, but just look at this play.
I think he just countered RNG, to be honest, at
Yeah,
this
the
point.
mechanics, the speed at which he can execute this, and the idea about where the enemy team is coming in. That single play right there pretty much sealed the mid-game for JD Gaming.
Yeah, and from here, it's just like, well, RNG was split. You know, Ming was trying to find access to get back towards Kasha and Uzi, but there was no way he could do it. There's a Clid staring him down. It's like, you want to get past me? That's not going to happen. If you do, I'm going to kill you. And then on the backside, they were just wrapped. There was no way out of this play. Uzi tried his hard out, came up with the killer instinct, the flash, but even so, it was just too far gone, and that was based off the initial setup to the play.
And we have to emphasize that was not a bad play coming out from RNG.
No.
In their terms of their strategy, it made sense, and in terms of how many resources they threw into it, it did also make sense. That was purely Zoom outplaying the expected coming out from RNG. So, you know, props to him. There's not much you can do when you have the right strategy, the right move, but someone just outplays you.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just like, well, back to the drawing board, do the same thing again, you know, just like, let's just replay the situation to hope for a better result the second time. But it did feel like actually in the team fights themselves that RNG was not playing up to scratch, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it was. Like, you can say, well, you know, RNG, like, heading into the end of the split, that it's like, they've played a lot of games so far, they just come back from Asian games, you can make a lot of these excuses, but this happens every single time they play against JD. This isn't just a one thing, one blip in the radar, this is every single time.
Definitely. I think the crucial mistake from this play here is RNG just giving JD Gaming such an easy time turning into the actual Baron pit into the river. They could have held mid, or they could have held the ramp since they're on the blue side, and forced JD Gaming into very difficult positions where they have to walk through Ori on a ball or risk flanks to actually go onto the Baron. But JD Gaming, they just found the back timing window, and they slipped themselves into that choke point. They forced RNG to come from one side, and they're able to hit everyone with the Oranhorn.
Honestly, just like a lot of separation coming in from RNG. Just watching them team fight and looking at the individual decision making. You're just watching one person jump in, the other person cleansing and flashing away. It's just like it's not connected. Like if you're jumping in to be a martyr, great, but you're looking to try and win a team fight off the back end of a Baron tank. Zoom, of course, gonna take the MVP on the Ornn. I mean, I don't think we have to explain why he picks up the MVP. But like Zoom just put the only and the final nail in the coffin for them.
Pretty much, and yeah, he's now 1-5 against Let Me. Has one of the worst career matchups for Let Me. Is going to be a nemesis for him going forward into the playoffs as well. He doesn't need to do a lot of damage, but he can provide the crowd control, and that's one of the biggest improvements to Zoom so far.
Yeah.
He's been great in laning since spring, but his team fights have been rather suspect at times. I think in Summer Split, he actually now thinks that because of his CC improvement, he's helped improve his team to become better late game and better mid game as well. So great props on his individual growth in terms of those crowd control mechanics.
Yeah, I also love the resources that the team gives him as well. They specifically gave him the final pick of the draft. They actually play towards topside. Zoom, anything you need, we're gonna give it to you because we know you can actually carry games for us. And honestly, Zoom is turning up. Like I feel like this team was so much about Yagao, you know, in this new iteration, the new era of JD, but now you actually have carries in the mid lane, carry in the top lane, a super solid jungler in the middle of them as well with Cleared, and then Loken's becoming into his own recently as well. You know, the old token Loken, you kind of forgotten about him. He was always there in the bottom side, but he's also had stand-up performances. So JD across the board actually turning into very solid players and a very solid team.
JD Gaming is a name you need to remember, and it's very likely that they're going to hold on to the second seed of the Eastern Conference.
Yep, so far they take game one. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll be coming in for the conclusion of the battle in Beijing.
相信这支年轻气盛的京东，相信过程。